the nightmares of reality.
It was close to midnight when I decided to head home. My shift at the café had dragged on longer than expected, and I had spent the last few hours staring out the window, watching the rain pound the empty streets. I didn't mind working late, but tonight, something about the stillness unsettled me. Maybe it was the way the lights outside flickered against the wet pavement, or maybe it was just exhaustion. But the idea of standing at a deserted bus stop in the rain made my skin crawl. I decided to call a cab. The app showed Carl would be my driver. Just an ordinary guy in his late 30s, judging by the photo. A normal face, clean-shaven with tired eyes and a faint smile. His rating was decent, and I figured it was a safer bet than trying to get home any other way this late. The rain was heavier when I stepped outside. I could hardly see 2 feet in front of me as I opened my umbrella and waited under the awning. A black sedan pulled up, its headlights cutting through the downpour. I checked the app to confirm it was him before getting in.
Leah.
The driver asked, glancing at me in the rearview mirror. Yeah, that's me. I buckled my seatbelt, settling in. The air inside the car was cool, almost chilly, contrasting sharply with the humidity outside. Carl didn't say much as we drove off, and I was grateful for the silence. I was too tired to make conversation, too tired to do anything other than stare out the window at the rain-soaked streets. We were driving through the city, past empty storefronts and closed businesses. I wasn't paying much attention until the lights became sparse and the streets felt unfamiliar. That was when I noticed something was off. I pulled up the route on the app, blinking through my exhaustion. We were veering off the main road onto smaller streets that I didn't recognize. Hey, I think you missed a turn, I said, leaning forward slightly. My voice felt shaky, but I told myself it was just because of the long day. Carl's eyes flicked up to meet mine in the mirror, and something about the way he smiled, the way his lips curled at the edges made my stomach drop.
It's a shortcut. Cuts through some of the traffic. Don't worry.
Traffic? There was no traffic. Not at this hour, not in this weather. The streets were empty. I frowned, gripping my phone a little tighter. Okay, but it says my place is the other way. Carl didn't respond immediately. He just kept driving, and the buildings outside began to thin out, turning into industrial blocks and warehouses, areas I had never seen before. The app showed we were completely off course now. Seriously, I said louder this time, the unease bubbling up in my chest. This isn't the right way. You need to turn around. The only response was the sound of the locks clicking down on the doors. My heart skipped a beat, and I realized then that I was trapped. I froze, the panic washing over me like cold water. My mind raced as I tried to think of what to do, my fingers hovering over my phone. I could call someone, I could scream,
I wouldn't try that if I were you.
Carl's voice was calm, almost too calm. My breath caught in my throat as I looked up, meeting his gaze in the rearview mirror. The smile was gone now, replaced with a cold, calculated expression. His eyes were fixed on me, unblinking. What are you doing? My voice barely came out, a whisper drowned by the rain pounding on the roof. Carl didn't answer at first. He just kept driving, the city fading into the background as the car rumbled down a narrow road lined with tall, shadowy buildings. We were heading into a part of town I had never been to, a part where the lights didn't reach.
I've been waiting for someone like you,
he finally said, his voice low, almost a murmur. My stomach twisted into knots. What do you mean? Carl laughed softly, the sound chilling in the confined space of the car.
People like you. So trusting, so sure everything is safe because the app says so. You never expect anything to go wrong.
He wasn't looking at me now, his eyes glued to the road ahead. I watched his knuckles whiten as he gripped the steering wheel tighter. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I was in danger. Real, physical danger. I fumbled with my phone, trying to unlock it with shaking hands. I needed to call for help. I needed to do something, anything. But before I could press the emergency button, Carl's voice cut through the tension.
You won't get a signal out here.
My heart sank. I glanced at the screen. He was right. No service. We were too far from the city now, out in some desolate area where the rain drowned out everything, even the sound of my own breathing. Please, I whispered, my voice shaking, just let me go. I won't tell anyone, I swear. Carl didn't even look at me this time.
We're almost there.
He said, his voice devoid of emotion. I felt like I was going to be sick. The car slowed as we turned into a dark alley between two massive crumbling warehouses. There were no lights, no people, nothing but the sound of rain and the low hum of the engine. Carl parked the car, but he didn't turn off the engine. The doors remained locked and I could feel the cold sweat breaking out on the back of my neck. This was it. I had to act now or I wouldn't get another chance. With a burst of adrenaline, I lunged for the door handle, yanking it desperately, but it wouldn't budge. The locks were engaged and the door refused to open. Carl sighed, almost as if he was disappointed.
I told you not to do that.
I whipped around to face him, my mind racing. Why are you doing this? What do you want? His eyes met mine in the mirror, and for the first time I saw something dark, something twisted behind them. He smiled, a slow, creeping smile that sent chills down my spine.
What I want is for you to scream,
he said slowly. He turned in his seat, reaching back toward me with a calm, steady hand. Don't! I tried to scream, but the words caught in my throat. His hand wrapped around my wrist, cold and strong, pulling me forward. I struggled, thrashing in my seat, but he was too strong. His grip tightened, and I could feel the panic rising in my chest, like fire. Then, suddenly, he let go. I kicked at the door with all my strength, and to my surprise, the window cracked under the force of my heel. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Enough to make Carl pause, enough to give me a sliver of hope. I kicked again, harder this time, and the glass shattered, sending shards flying into the night. Without thinking, I shoved my hand through the broken window, reaching for the outside handle, my fingers slick with rain and sweat. I scrambled to my feet, slipping on the slick pavement, my heart pounding in my ears. Behind me, I could hear Carl cursing as he fumbled with his seatbelt, trying to get out of the car. I didn't wait to see if he succeeded. I ran. I ran faster than I had ever run in my life, my feet slipping and sliding on the wet ground, my lungs burning from the effort. The alley was long and narrow, and I had no idea where it led, but I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. My legs ached, my chest heaved, but I kept going, the rain blurring my vision, my mind screaming at me to move faster, faster. I didn't know if Carl was behind me. I didn't dare look back. All I could think about was getting away, finding help, escaping the nightmare I had stumbled into. Finally, I saw lights, faint, distant lights at the end of the alley. A street. Civilization. I was safe. For now.